So that is the outline of my presentation. Basically, I'll do a bit of introduction. I won't be too much into that because a colleague of mine has been here before and he was able to introduce the organization. So I won't go too deep into that. Then I'll tell you a bit about some of the challenges we have, including those that touch on physical planning issues. I already started talking about them. And then I'll tell you what is mobility and how then do we transform mobility. As you can see, our tagline as Kura is transforming urban mobility. So then how do we intend to, how do we transform urban mobility? And then I'll take you to some of the strategies. Then I'll talk a bit about the paradigm shift in urban planning towards sustainable mobility concepts. You realize that urban planning, planning generally and then provision of transportation facilities are actually tied at the hip. So I'll take a bit more time. So most of these other things, because of time, I'll try to go through them a little fast. And then I'll, at point number 6 is where I'll try to spend a little time. Thank you. So Kenya Urban Roads Authority, I don't want to talk much about this. I can only assure you that our abbreviation is KURA. We have nothing to do with voting. We supply transport facilities in urban setups. Now, some of our specific mandates, and I started talking about this. I don't want to go into much. I want to point out on that, in that list, controlling urban road reserves. Now, when we want to talk about controlling urban road reserves, it means that that reserve must have already been provided through a spatial planning process. And that is one of the areas that I will be dwelling on a bit. Our vision, not much. We are all over the country. Now, what are some of the challenges we have in urban transport? When the transportation supply, that is in terms of the facilities, is not adequate for the demand, that is the movement that is required, then we have a problem. And of all the issues that we have, one of them I want to point out is loss of public space. So this is one of the areas I want to dwell on a bit. How do we, once a process has been done, a spatial planning process has been done, how do we then lose public space? One of them is through illegal allocation. And I'll give you an example. One time we really had to fight. Ngong Road, the entire corridor for Ngong Road is 60 meters wide. Then at some point we realized that 15 meters had been hived off. A 15-meter strip had been hived off for other activities, and we really had to fight. How do we allow such a thing to happen? Other cases, and I'll be able to demonstrate to you at some point, when the eastern and northern bypasses were planned several years ago. When we came to construction from around the year 2009 up to 2012, 2013, most of that corridor had gone and we had to acquire again. And the cost of land acquisition, I will be able to demonstrate for you how this affects the provision of roads in our country or in our urban setups. And so we need to ask ourselves, how does this happen? And most of this actually passes through the hands of planners. If I were to mention the case of Ngong Road, we even know the planners who took this process through and how it happened. And the 15-meter strip was hived off. How do we allow such a thing to happen when we know the urbanization is taking place, urban growth is taking place, and we need more public facilities? Again, another challenge that I want to bring out is the land footprint. In the land footprint, what amount of land is actually there for provision of public facilities. And how do we end up as a country undertaking land acquisition? Why should the public buy land from itself to provide public facilities? I think these are some of the fundamental questions that I want to pose to you as planners. Land acquisition, some of the challenges that come with that is an availability of construction area, increased haul distances, and increased overall projects, overall cost projects. Now, I was telling you about the eastern and northern bypass. That is the total amount that we used for land acquisition. And this was by the year 2009. 7 billion Kenya shillings. Now, the cost of that entire project was 8.25 billion Kenya shillings. So we provided a road, 51 kilometers, at 8.25 billion Kenya shillings, and we also bought land at 7.2 billion Kenya shillings, a difference of 2 billion Kenya shillings. Now, if we were to use this money to construct a road, where would we be? So I pose this to you as planners. So let's come to mobility. What is mobility? Basically, movement of people and goods. We have a challenge as a country. We mostly use our road space, not for movement of people and goods, but for movement of our cars. I don't know if somebody got that. We use our road space, not for movement of people and goods, but for movement of our cars. And how does that come up? Because of what we call automobile dependency. And for us to transform this, then what we need to do is to see how we can move away from automobile dependency to use of mass public transit. And that's one of the areas that I'll be touching on. I don't know why I have this slide here. Somebody can tell me. Somebody? I think I was already moving too fast, so I'm being asked to stop a bit. I don't know how more time I have. Yeah, thank you. I'll be able to manage with that. So if we want to transform urban mobility, basically there are three areas that we want to deal with. Number one, we want to make sure that we do away with transportation completely. And this feeds into how planning process fits into this. Then secondly, we want to do with walking and cycling. And also, other than that, then we want to move through public transit, where you move people in masses. And those are some of the hard measures that we have. In terms of the soft measures, then we want to talk about how do we infuse technology in transportation to optimize the transport facilities that we already have, and that is intelligent transport systems. I'll also touch a bit on that. And while at that, I'll also apologize to you for not being here yesterday, because that is one of the things that kept me away yesterday. So I've talked about that. We need to do away with transportation. We will need to promote public transit, moving people in masses, and also walking and cycling. So those are some of the ways. What does Kura do? I want to touch on only three of them. Grade separation, to make sure that we are able to move at intersections, we are able to move efficiently, and also what we call intelligent transport systems or smart transport, and also bus rapid transit systems, and I'll be able to show you some of the things that we are doing. I don't want to go too much into that. I talked to you about automobile dependency. What do we want to do, or what are we trying to do? We want to move away from automobile dependency to mass rapid transit. As Kura, we deal with bus rapid transit, but then the Kenya Railways deals with commuter rail and light rail transit, and maybe someday We will also be able to implement heavy rail transit, the metro system and the subway system that you see in some of the other countries that you go to. So bus rapid transit basically means that you have segregated busway, and you have stations, and then you are able to move buses as efficiently as possible through that segregated lane. This is what we have in Nairobi so far. We have about 5 lines, or 5 bus rapid transit lines. Kura deals with line 3, 4, and 5, while Kenya deals with 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, 1 and 2. So line 3 generally runs along Gong Road and Juja Road. Line 4 covers Jogo Road, and line 5 generally runs along Outer Ring Road. So for those who know how it's done, that is how it comes out in terms of integration of the systems or the bus routes. So for line 5, or the Nyati lane, we already have secured $55 million from the Korea government to undertake that. Currently, we are evaluating the contract for works. So that means by maybe around March, we could be having a contract on the ground. I don't want to go into that. Again, this slide is interesting. We work in urban areas. And so if you dump anything, garbage on the road, that's not my business. Is that so? Or if you don't plan well, that's not my business, is it? Yeah, so I talk a little about intelligent transport systems. I said this is basically using ICT technologies to make sure that vehicles and all road users generally are able to use the roads efficiently. So it enhances both efficiency and safety. You can use several methods to achieve this. Basically, it's cameras, it is sensors, and all these other technologies that you use, the Internet of Things, all these things that are in the Internet. You can use that vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure. You collect the information. After collecting the information, you annotate the information. After annotation, then you analyze, and then you use an algorithm to make sure that you bring optimization in the utilization. So basically, that's all that I've described. Vehicle to vehicle technologies, vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to pedestrians, all that. So central to this is what we call the traffic management center. Traffic management center is like the brain. That is where all the data goes. That's where the algorithm is. It works it out. For example, I'll just give you an example. When you are at an intersection, and that intersection where we have what we call advanced traffic signal system, adaptive traffic signal system, then using that technology, you are able to give more green light to the arm that needs it, as opposed to the other arm that maybe is not so congested. So it's basically use of technology. And TMCs are normally area-wide, system-wide. You can use it for an entire town, for a region, or something like that. So that's what a TMC looks like. I've talked about some of this. But this is the project that we're implementing. In Nairobi, we identified 450 intersections and made blocks where we are going to implement this. What are some of the things we are doing? Automated traffic data collection, adaptive traffic signal system for intersections, e-police. I can put it to you that very soon those automatic fines will start hitting our phones. So let's be ready for that, especially through the red light detection system, red light violation detection system, which is one of the applications that we are installing. Not much about that. This is the one for line 5, phase 1. We already got funding, and this is what we were doing yesterday. The contract was signed, and we are going to start the work tomorrow. Immediately. We also have phase 2, which will take about 60 intersections. Phase 3 will take 125 intersections. Now, this basically is to illustrate what red light violation detection system does. And you can see how it's able to clear, this is for adaptive traffic signal system, how it's able to clear our intersections. And then that is for red light violation detection, or what we call the e-police. Basically with this, it's able to map you out how you do the violations. And then from that, we are able to have you charged. What are the benefits? We will improve traffic flow by up to 40%. We will reduce waiting times to less than 30 seconds per intersection. With the traffic police, we will remove the human interface in the whole enforcement system, and data collection and all that will be some of the benefits. Now, what are some of the challenges we are likely to run into? If you want to remove the police from the road, will it be easy? Another way that we use to improve traffic flow, I told you, is through grade separation. It's making sure that vehicles are actually moving at different levels. And this is what we are currently undertaking at Junction Mall. So you can see that's how it will come out. Now, a paradigm shift. Where is the nexus between provision of our facilities and planning? And where is the way forward? Number one, compact cities. We are not going to be planning like before, where you had a certain area is demarcated for residential, another one for industrial, another one for institutional, all these things. We want to see that those compatible uses actually come together. Why are we doing that? To ensure that we remove the need for transportation. And then they should be resident-centered so that, the origins and destinations are very close together. That is where we must have transportation. For example, if industrial area, from industrial area, at industrial area, the people that work at industrial area, where are they coming from? We need to bring that as close as possible, where it is walkable, but if they can't walk, then they need to be able to use public transit. So that's the kind of planning that we are talking about in terms of the way forward. So I've talked about walking, cycling, inclusive streets. Right now, people with disabilities, disability mainstreaming in transportation, and that kind of inclusivity needs to, 1 minute please, I'll be done. So those are kind of things that now we need to think of when we are doing our planning. Transit-oriented and demand management, those are some of the areas that we need to deal with. This simply illustrates we need to give walking priority, then cycling, then bus rapid transit, and at the right time we should be able to go to light rail and heavy rail. And I thank you for listening. If you give me time another day, I will tell you how the no sooner had than ended. Thank you.